everyone. Good day to all of you. My name is Rod. I'm tuning in from Manila in the Philippines. It's great to see everyone here. And welcome to our session on primary production. So, the agriculture state of play, where we will be talking about primary production today. So, um, this is part of our agriculture state of play series where we talk about different types of sub-industries within agriculture, and primary production sits at the foundation of our economies and ecosystems. It's really where innovation meets the soil, the sea, and the people who work closest to them. And in fact, incubators, accelerators, and ESOs play such a vital role in shaping how those innovations take root and grow stronger across sectors. So in this session, we're taking a step back to see the bigger picture, what trends, challenges, and bright spots are shaping the future of primary production. So hopefully you will get a good experience from our speakers for today. I'm pretty sure of that. But maybe before we start, since we are a smaller group today, I'd love to get to know who's in the room with us, just so that we can get to kind of talk a little bit more, since this is a pretty intimate group. So let me bring up a slide. Supposedly, we were going to do this in small groups, but since we are a small group, maybe we can do this together. So within the group, if you can share your name, where you're from, what you do, and your organization, and then our fun question, and we'll let the speakers go last so that they can we can then continue with them. Is if you could grow or produce one thing yourself, what would it be and why? So talking about primary production. So maybe I can start and then I can pass it along to people in the room. So again, Rod from Manila in the Philippines. I'm the community choreographer for Pollinate Impact, where I have the joy of leading these convenings both in person and virtually. And if I could grow or produce one thing myself, I think I would want to produce coffee beans. I know it's like there's a full value chain of not just producing coffee beans, but I think if I could, I would, because I love coffee. It keeps me alive and awake during the day. So that's definitely something that I would love to grow myself. Maybe I will pass it on to yeah, maybe I'll pass it on to Tess for now, just so that people have time to think. But Tess, in case you're ready. Think Tess is. There we
Yeah,
go.
I can
All
go.
right. Great.
Um, yeah, so hi everyone. My name is Tess. Where are you from? So I'm from Nairobi, Kenya. What I do, so I'm part of the Pollinate Impact team. I'm the network nurturer. Um, if I could grow or produce one thing yourself, what would it be and why? Honestly, I think I would produce mint leaves. I think they're really like cool for like cocktails. So I just want to have that in my backyard that I can just, be putting them into my homemade drinks.
Convenient.
Um,
Yeah.
oh,
Go ahead,
so
Tess. You
yeah,
can pass it. Yeah.
let me pass it on to Bukebo. I know you've been here, so you can go.
You, Dot, if you're there. You can also chat it if you can't go on unmute. I think maybe Dot is still setting up. So maybe while Dot is setting up, I see Susan has her camera on. So maybe you can ask Susan to introduce herself quickly. Susan, go ahead. Hello. Can you hear me? Tess, can you hear me? Yeah. Susan, if you're ready. Yeah. No worries.
Sorry.
No way.
Good day. I don't know what time it is where you are joining from, but it's an afternoon for me. I'm Susan Onjiro Mwangi. I work for Tangaza University as an educator and also supporting a project in sustainable agriculture. And what I would, so this is in Nairobi, Kenya, and what I would grow or produce, I think apples. I see apples are really priced, and I would want to, grow them for myself. Yeah, glad to be in this space. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Susan. Do you have anybody that you'd like to nominate to introduce themselves next?
I can throw it to Samaké.
Sorry, Tenemba, go ahead.
Yeah. Morning, everyone. So my name is Tenemba Samaké. I'm originally from Mali, but I live in Ghana. And I manage an enterprise support organization called MBC Africa. And I already grow a small garden, backyard, spices, and I also tried okra. I tried a few things. I even tried to grow in my garden sweet potatoes. So yeah, that's it.
I love it. Self-sufficiency. Thanks, Tenemba. Anybody that you'd like to nominate to go next to introduce themselves? Maybe I can have Harisai Panyapi. We're here. Yeah.
Just activate my microphone. So good morning. So my name is Tarisai Kanyepi, and I'm from Zimbabwe, but I'm based in Germany, and I work at United Nations University here in Bonn. And if I could grow one thing for myself, I think it would probably be butternuts because I like them, and yeah. So I think the ease and the of having them at home would be great. Yeah. So maybe I can also nominate the next person. So I would nominate David.
Sorry, can you say it again, Teresa? Who did you nominate?
David Joronge. I hope I pronounced it
David.
correctly. Sorry if I
Yes.
Okay.
Let me just switch on my camera.
Hi, David.
Okay.
Nice to see
Hello,
you.
hello. Yes, I hope you can hear me and see me. Great,
Yes.
perfect. Yes, my name is David Njoroge. I'm based here in Nairobi, Kenya. What do I do in the organization? So I'm part of the Smart Regional Consultants. We are an enterprise support organization, and I'm under the Strategy and Consulting Department. If I could grow or produce one thing, what will it be and why? This is a good question. I'd say pineapples or groundnuts. Why? I don't know. I enjoy pineapples and groundnuts. I'd say that's the reason why I'd grow either of the two. Yes, that's
Great.
me.
Thanks, David.
Yeah.
Would you like to pass it on?
You're welcome. Yes. Let me pass it on to Eddie Innocent.
Thank you.
All right, David, thank you. Let me just switch on my camera. Hi, is everyone able to see me?
Yes. Hi, Eddie.
Hi, all right, my name is Eddie Innocent. I'm from Nairobi. I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya. What do you do in your organization? Okay, I work for Smart Regional Consultants. We work with Devin in the same organization, same office. So I work under the Strategies and Consulting Department. And what we definitely do is we support SMEs throughout the Investor Readiness program. What I will grow or produce is I would say leafy vegetables like sukuma wiki. One, because they grow so fast, and that means you can harvest them multiple times. And we definitely know that restaurants and our households always buy them. Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Eddie. Would you like to pass it on? Sorry, you're on mute.
I'm saying I would like to pass it to Tarisia. Has Tarisia spoken?
Yes, Sarisa has spoken. I think we have Theo, I think it's Mohammed Zia and Keisla and Thomas who have not gone. Take your
All
pick.
right. I will pass it to Keisla.
Thanks, Eddie.
I think I already had a feeling that was gonna happen. Hi, everybody. My name is Keisla Adhiambo. I work for Smart Regional Consultants. Eddie and David are my colleagues, and I am really excited to be here today. If I could plant one thing, it would be potatoes, like the ones that make fries. I feel like potatoes are super versatile. And if I had potatoes in my garden, I would cook so many things with them. So potatoes. And I would also go with what Tess said. I would have some form of herbs. So maybe not just mint, but I'd probably add some basil, something just to have those potatoes tasting really good. Yeah, I'm going to pass it on to Zia.
Great. Thanks, Keisla.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Super. Hi, everyone. My name is Mohammed Ziauddin. First of all, glad to be here with all of you, incredible impact change makers. I am based in Dhaka. This is my hometown in Bangladesh. And I basically co-founded an impact enterprise called Digigram Ventures with some of my, long-term friends and colleagues. At Digigram, we basically work at the intersection of rural livelihood, micro-entrepreneurship, and sustainable agriculture. And the last one is kind of a bit tricky. I guess all of us have faced the same kind of thing. But I would probably say, I have seen my grandmothers and my mother, they used to grow, lemon, mangoes, all those fresh seasonal fruits on the rooftop. So I would probably follow their footsteps.
Those sound great. Thanks so much, Mohammed Zia. How do we call you? Zia? Mohammed? Which one do you
Zia
prefer?
is
Zia.
just Zia is perfectly.
Great, awesome. Then I think we have two more people. Zia, do you want to pass it on to Theo or Thomas?
Who is left? Let me see. I'm
Uh,
extremely sorry. I joined 15 to 20
no
minutes late.
worries.
So
No problem. Theo or Thomas? I think they're the ones left. Haven't gone yet.
all right. I would prefer Theo.
Theo. Okay, great. Thanks, Zia. Thanks for being here with us.
Hi
Theo, go ahead.
everyone. Hi everyone. I'm Theo. Unfortunately, I'm driving at the moment, so I can't show you my face.
No worries.
I'm from an organization called the African Management Institute, AMI. I represent the South Africa office, so based in Johannesburg. What would I like to grow? Definitely wild rockets or basil. I love those. I just have this love for them. I can't explain what it is, but yeah, those would be the things I would grow.
Great, awesome, Theo, and safe driving while you
Yeah, thanks.
travel. Thanks. And then last but not least, we have Thomas.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry I came in late. My name is Thomas Kimani. I work for a company called AfriScope Research based in Nairobi, Kenya, and Kisumu. I'm based in Nairobi, and what we do in our organization, we work with SMEs towards accelerating them, investor readiness, and we do a lot of training and some research on different topics in regards to entrepreneurship. If I could grow or produce one thing, and I'll take this from some of the clients we work with, I would grow what you call Africa indigenous vegetables. First of all, they grow chemical free. And the other thing about them is they have a lot of nutritional benefits that cure a lot of things, and you don't need to depend on drugs and other things. So it's a one-stop shop for everything you may need for health. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Thomas, and thank you, everybody. We're so excited to have this conversation. I'm glad that everybody has like what they want to grow right in their own gardens. And I think it's kind of an allegory to what we're going to talk about today with primary production and really seeing how um the first movers in agriculture, what are we doing to help them innovate and support them in terms of their context. And I'm so glad to have Keisla and Tenemba here sharing their experiences with working with entrepreneurs in primary production. But maybe before we get into all of that, I just wanted to invite those who are not yet part of Pollinate Impact. So this is your sign to join us in our buzzing community of impact incubators and accelerators across the Global South. Members get funding leads, proposal support, tools, and shared resources, and real connection with peers, care of pests, a lot of the time, who get the work that we do. So you'll see the link and QR code on your screen, and I know we're also going to send it through the chat. So come join us because we'd love to have you. And then for our members here, who I feel a few of, if Pollinate Impact has helped you even just a little bit, maybe through a funding lead or a tool that made your life easier, even a conversation through one of these convenings that reminded you you're not alone in this wild world of impact work, why not pass it on? You can refer a peer to join the Pollinate Network and get 10% off your next annual membership fee. So just share the link or scan the QR code. Again, we'll share the link below so that we can keep growing this garden one referral, one new bloom at a time. And then lastly, in terms of our upcoming events, first on November 14th, if any of you happen to come our way here in the Philippines, we are closing the Philippine Startup Week with a mixer that's happening on Friday, November 14th from 6:30 to 8:30 at Conscious Commons. So it's going to be a chill night. So if you'll be in Manila and want to hang out with fellow ecosystem and enablers, please come and bring your teammates too. The more, the merrier. Next one is on November 27th. We have the Funding Flora and Dialogue with Funders. We're closing the month with an unfiltered conversation featuring GIZ Philippines, GIZ Kenya, and UNSCAP, diving into what funders and ecosystem enablers are really looking for and how we can collaborate further. So this one is a members only session. So if you haven't joined the network yet, now's the time so that you can join us for this. And then lastly, for any new members or longtime members who want a little refresh, we have a member orientation on December 3 to learn how you can make the most out of being part of the community. We'll be spotlighting all of the fundraising and sustainability benefits available to members. So whether you're new or just want to rediscover what's buzzing, you're absolutely welcome to join. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, again, for being here. And without further ado, I'd like us to get started. Maybe just reacquaint ourselves a little bit with our speakers. I know they introduced themselves, but we have Tenemba here and Keisla with us, who will be taking us through their experiences with supporting primary production in their context. So I'm really excited to hear their context and their experience, and then what insights we would gather at the end of their talk. So I'd like to welcome Tenemba first from MBC Africa to take us through her experience. Tenemba, take it away.
Thank you very much. And again, good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here. You know, it just reminded me that when we started in 2012, we started focusing basically on agribusinesses, like processing and everything but primary, which is, oh yes, which is the main aspects in the agriculture. Everybody wants to invest in everything, but not in production. So it kind of always was weird for me. So we started in 2012. We set up a training program for managers of MSMEs, agribusinesses, so on and so forth. But in 2015, after evaluation, we just had to stop. We said there's something wrong. If you want to invest in a processor, his number one problem is supply chain. And his supply chain are 95%, 90%, depending on the crop, are smallholder farmers. So if you see the agriculture or the value chain as a system, so the actors in the system, the weakest link is the smallholder farmer. Okay? But we all agree that every actor on that value chain, including the smallholder farmer, has difficulties accessing to different resources to start and grow. But the weakest link is the producer. So in 2015, we completely pivoted MBC Africa, which is an enterprise support organization. We pivoted our business model. From that day, we say we will only design ecosystems, because focusing on the SMEs alone doesn't work. Focusing on the smallholder farmers, because they're the weakest link, and sometimes we're not even using the best instruments, is also not realistic. So how do we make this all happen? Is set up an ecosystem. And we created a brand, because we are business people. So we created a brand that we call Subies. Subies in Twi, it's the Susu is a savings model. And we just created savings for business. So a savings model that integrates both financial and non-financial services for rural enterprises. The main being the smallholder farmer, the producers. So this is how this adventure started. So if you look at Ghana agriculture, I'm sure it's the same thing for most of African countries. I know it's practically the same for my country, Mali. Everybody complains about low productivity, vulnerability to climate change, limited access for some of the actors to the main resources, unstructured market. So the only way to solve this multiple problems is to set up what we call financial inclusion, which is the Subies Credit Union, plus the Subies Village, which is the ecosystem for the training of the smallholder farmers or the producers on different agricultural value chains. So our main goal is really to transform the smallholder farmer into a resilient, profitable, and sustainable business. So we're trying to give them the business mindset. As a smallholder farmer, it's not because you farm only on 5 acres that you should think that you cannot grow from those 5 acres. You can grow, but there are steps and conditions in which you can grow. So we started the Subies Ventures, which is an integrated solution. So we merged our basic model with partnership with other actors on the value chain. So when we designed the Sustainable Farm Incubator, we designed it with different actors on the value chain. One is agri-colleges and universities, with whom we are going to effectively implement and test some of the models exactly in 8 regions. So we started with Accra and Northern region, but the objective is to be in the 16 regions of Ghana, but starting with Accra, which is dominant urban, and Northern regions, which is dominant rural. So by merging these two, you get the Subies Ventures. So the Subies Villages, where MBC Africa provides trainings, access to finance, and so on and so forth. the Sustainable Farm Incubator in the different urban areas. We're testing it, especially in Accra, as I said, where we test specific innovative models. As I told you in the beginning, I do small farming in my yard. I decided to test. I tested pepper, okra, basil. Somebody was talking of basil. I still have basil in my small garden. I tested the onions. I tested onions, the sweet potatoes. I've tested different things. And I have people that are doing catfish in their backyard and selling it. So how do we transform or organize these models into kits and provide to young people who want to go into urban farming so they can make a living out of it? So we went from the possible, and we're trying to build business models around it. And of course, our main job in this case will be market building, because most of people don't want to go into the primary because they always complain they don't have access to market. So that ecosystem we built around Subies, in Subies Ventures, brings you all the resources you need, whether it's from MBC or from MBC partners, all the resources to start, produce, and sell whatever you're producing. So it's much more interesting for a young person that, wants to farm, but doesn't have everything it takes to farm. So we're more than just incubator. We built an ecosystem, and this ecosystem can be customized to different value chains. So right now we have, I think 4 or 5. We have coffee. I've been talking to, I don't know if it's Tess about my coffee need to partner for the coffee incubator. Coffee, we have the coffee village, the poultry village with the women in poultry in Ghana. We have a group of women in cassava. We're building a cassava village. And for every crop, basically, we can build the ecosystem. So just to give you an example, we started, we pivoted the business model in 2015, but it's only in 2018 that we started working really on the incubator model. And of course, there was COVID. And so we had to stop more or less because only people who had access to internet were able to be trained, right? So we trained a few people in the northern part, but mostly virtual. We trained people also in Burkina Mali, all the virtual. Okay, so we took time. So right now we're setting up the rice village, and we're working with a group of 500 rice producers in the eastern region, Upper East region in Ghana. So most of them, 90% never had access to input credit. So we brought them that. So we brought them seeds, fertilizers, crop protection products. We even just provided them with a combined harvester. Now they've started harvesting. So we brought all the resources and equipment necessary for them to thrive. So we're now just harvesting. So we will see if our assumptions are correct, but based on the crops, I think we won't be far. They should see an increase in the yields because of the different trainings and the coaching they received from our field officers on the ground or from our partners, because we have partners on the ground that also provide them with support. And clearly they will have higher income because we're taking out like 2 or 3 middlemen and we're linking them directly to the off-takers. And we have two main off-takers for the paddy, but you also have off-takers for the rice. That means the next step we might have with them is to set up a small rice mill just around the cooperative, so they can mill and sell also milled rice. So this is really the typical smallholder farmers that we're supporting right now, young people and women. So we have the rice, we have the maize, but some of them do multiple crops. So mostly these ladies in the rice, they also do some groundnuts. They will do some small vegetable garden. Yeah. So being part of an ecosystem will also help them identify which of the crop has the best, is the best for them in terms of revenues, right? So right now, the ecosystem is composed of mainly four elements. So you have the digital aspect. This is the first one we started setting up in 2020. We have a database of smallholder farmers with basic KYC, including biometry, but also information on the land they are farming on. And for some of them, they have even more land than the ones they are farming on. So we kind of integrated all these information in the database. So for any financier, if you really want to invest in our farmers, we can just plug you in, right? We have the sustainable farm incubator. So right now we have the urban and the rice, and we'll start the poultry hopefully in a couple of months. The coffee is already running, but the coffee is with a partner, which is a coffee company. So what they're asking from us is to modernize and scale the incubator around their activities and their needs. And we even identify just across the border, because they're in the Volta region, which borders with Togo, just across the border, you have the same people doing the same coffee. So he was so excited because that means more coffee for him. The livestock will probably start only next year because it calls for more CAPEX, and we've just finalized the agreement with one of the agriculture universities that are going to lead on the livestock. Financial inclusion and access to market, as I said, give them the resources, but also help them sell. If they don't know where to sell, there's no reason they're going to take a loan for an activity. So we've effectively set up the credit union, and we're right now raising specific monies because we've tested the model. We have around 1,005 members now in mainly 3 regions. So now we're rolling out full. We have direct contracts with processors, as I told you, but we are licensed brokers on Ghana Commodities Exchange. So we give them access to even bigger market through the Commodities Exchange. So we're very happy. It was a very long road, as you can see, from 2018 to 2025. But I think we practically made it. There are still some roadblocks that we are working on. And I think the way it's structured and the feedback is rolled in, we'll probably get over most of the roadblocks in a couple of years. So this is something I wanted to really communicate with those who are coming in on the primary production. You have to take a value chain approach. You can't be everywhere, right? For example, in IT, the thinking that I can scale just by having an app, it doesn't work that way. You really have to work with all the actors, and some of them don't even know how to use technology. You have to integrate, don't isolate yourself. Integrate all the actors. Build circularity since day one, because you will need it. You will make a lot of waste, and you will need to do that. Leverage on digital tools and empower local leaders to really scale and sustain whatever model you set up. Voila.
Thank you. Thank you, Tenemba. This was really great. I think this is a awesome kind of experience and model that you've highlighted where you mentioned about, not just kind of strengthening the weakest link, but also fortifying the whole chain itself. Because again, with primary production being the bedrock of kind of the agriculture value chain, then it's also making sure that it's well connected and that it's sustainable and it retains its productivity so that then everything else falls into place. So it's amazing to see what kind of innovation and what kind of support you can give to entrepreneurs like this. So thank you so much for sharing that. I'd like to open the floor a little bit, maybe for one or two questions for Tenemba before we go to Keisla. Do we have any questions? Anything we'd like to, are curious to know more about in terms of MBC Africa and what Tenemba has shared? Feel free to raise your hand, just unmute or chat your question. Just set my timer. I've been really liking the Zoom timer because it keeps things in place. So we'll have 3 minutes in case anybody has any questions. I see Srinivas has unmuted. Maybe you have a question.
Hi, Tenemba. I am Srinivas. I am from Mikrisat, Hyderabad, India. I'm sorry today I was late, but I joined in the middle of your presentation. Wonderful presentation. Some of that the thought process for the startups you have suggested is right, and you are not just only have an app or application that farmers come and face. You have to integrate what is the farmers' problems and challenges. As an incubator, we have been guiding entrepreneurs, and I'm happy to share that we are the first agri-business incubator in India, and we also established incubation centers in Ghana and Uganda, Kenya, and some other African countries. And now we are also working with the PALM, IFAD, and the Ministry of Agriculture, Ghana, to establish incubation centers in soybean, tomato, and poultry. And I would like to connect with you offline sometimes. Thank you so much. Thank you
That
so
would
much
be
for the
great. So we can do, because we're well into the poultry and we're discussing effectively with the government. So it will be great if we can talk. Yeah.
I have shared my contact details in the chat. You can please reach out to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Tenemba. I have a question.
Yes.
Well, this may be fairly obvious. Maybe for me, I'd like to understand. The first advice you've given is for incubators to think about it from a value chain perspective. Yes. So why is it that some or many incubators just tend to focus only on production?
I think it's one of the biggest mistakes in agriculture support in Africa. And I've been saying this, it's not today, I've been saying this for 20 years. Focusing, because we have the programmatic approach. We build programs. Yeah. So most of these programs come with the vision that these are poor people that we support. And sometimes they provide financial solutions that look sexy and nice and like grants at all levels. And you end up having people who are really dependent on grants and not even thinking about sustainability or profitability. Because for most of these programs, smallholder farmers is, as I said, it's 95% of the production, but it's also rural areas. And this is where poverty is. So I think the solutions that we have taken up until now have shown their limits. That's why we talk a lot about agribusiness, less about agriculture. Because even the words have a meaning, right? We want smallholder farmers to be agribusiness. It's a family business, but they are agribusinesses. So, yeah, but you can't just focus on production because it's a system and all the actors are interrelated. If one fails, it affects all the system. And this is what is happening. The weakest link being the smallholder farmers, a lot of issues, and it affects the whole value chain ecosystem. So production, yes, let's make sure they're producing better, well, they're having bigger margins because they're having a business approach in doing things, right? But also make sure they're integrated well with all the other actors. So the ecosystem itself stands, the value chain stands. Hope it's.
Thanks, Tenemba. Yeah. Thanks, Tess, for holding the fort. I'm sorry, folks, I lost my internet for a little bit, but I did hear Tenemba's answer. And I think it's a really great point how, maybe just even reframing it as agribusiness and making sure that farmers understand that what they offer is also a business that they're offering to other companies and organizations, means that there's a way to do things or process that could help them make sure that they also stay sustainable and that they stay profitable. So really great point, and thanks for highlighting that, Tenemba. All right, so we'll go back later. If anybody has any questions that's still brewing, we'll go back to Tenemba later after we have Keisla, who will now talk about their experience in Smart Regional Consultants. So from West Africa, we're now going to East Africa. So I'll pass on the floor to Keisla to share their experience. Keisla?
Hello, hi everyone. Sorry, I have shared my slides, but I cannot see them. Just give me 1 minute.
No worries. And let me also set up my now favorite app, the timer. All right, awesome.
Okay, great. I can see my screen now. Hi, everybody again. My name is Keisla Adhiambo. I work for Smart Regional Consultants. And today I want to just give you our perspective as an ESO on what has been happening in the primary production agricultural space. So we are based in Kenya as an ESO, and we have been working in the arid and semi-arid regions of Kenya for the longest time. So let me tell you a little bit about Smart Regional Consultants. So Smart Regional Consultants was started 13 years ago by our founder, Catherine. And really, we are an enterprise support organization who partners with private sector companies, financial institutions, and development organizations. So some of the development organizations are NGOs, some are government, but basically we partner with them to be able to achieve the enterprise support goals. And so what we do is we offer professional services, and our models is built on delivering paid professional services. I am emphasizing on the paid. We decide whether it is the SME paying or the donor paying, but it's a paid service because that is what creates sustainability. And we support in 3 areas. So this is business model development, investor readiness and financial linkages, and market access. Our proposition is that we offer specialized expertise in designing and running cohort-based acceleration programs. So even our intervention in the arid and semi-arid lands was based in our cohort-based programs. And then we also offer investor readiness and pre-lending technical assistance. So just the assistance just before you go ask a bank for money or even asking for a grant, we offer that assistance. And finally, we do market linkage facilitation, which I think coincides with what Tenemba was saying. In other words, you have to emphasize with the whole value chain. You cannot just work on one person. So we have a pool of experts. We have very, very many consultants who work with us because not everybody knows everything. And so in terms of agriculture, we have people in dairy, poultry, we have apiculture, we have fish, and then we also have the normal agriculture. I was finding it very interesting when Rod asked the question of what would you plant? Everybody went directly into plants and nobody mentioned animals. And I think that's what we don't usually think about. When we say agriculture, most times we just think this is farming and it's going to involve some form of crop. But agriculture also involves a lot of animals. And that's what I'm going to focus my presentation on today, because that's what we do in Smart Regional Consultants. So this is our pathway in how we've been able to deliver and support in the arid and semi-arid lands on agriculture. So our pathway is based on forming a foundation that drives innovation and also shifting from subsistence, oh my goodness, to enterprise through system-based approaches. So we want to help the farmers move from primary production onto manufacturing and processing. But we realize that in arid and semi-arid lands, it's really hard for them to start with manufacturing when some of them don't even know basic systems. So we start with them where they are at primary production, but we assist in that creating a pathway. So our pathway is in 2 steps. So we first offer enterprise support. So here we give them business model strengthening, we give them investor readiness training, and then we give them market linkages, which I had already explained earlier. But we also focus in certain thematic areas. So here we've also looked at women-led enterprises, youth-led enterprises, green and circular enterprises, and then finally cooperative circles, producer/marketing groups. So we realize that we have a lot of women-led, a lot of youth-led enterprises that never move on to being green or circular or even like working in groups. And so our approach has to be, once we help you create a business, so you can create a business as an individual, we try as much as possible to ensure that now you're in a way that you can have a community of like-minded people who can help you sustain your business once our intervention is done in a particular area. And so how we do this with the business model strengthening, we enhance the governance, systems, and efficiency of the business. So here we look at, do you have the financial documents that you require? Do you keep records? What do you need that will be required for your business model to be strengthened? Then investor readiness, which is just preparing the enterprise for financing. Then market linkages is connecting the SMEs and cooperatives to sustainable markets. So I want to take 2 case studies of stuff that SRC has done in the ASAL area so that we can be able to see it practically. Our first case study was one of our projects we've done, and it just closed July this year, and we did this project for 3 years. This is the livelihoods and transformation in Northern Kenya. And here we were looking at climate resilient agriculture. So we were helping the participants, the SMEs in Marsabit, Turkana, Kakuma, and Lodwar, which is still in Turkana County, and Samburu. So we were in 4 counties, and we were just assisting them in terms of seeing whether their agri-enterprises are climate smart. So here you can see there's a picture on the side, and this is a group of women we trained in Marsabit who are apiculturists. They keep bees, but they'd never learned how to value add on the bees that they keep. So here they're being taught on how to melt wax and create candles. And we did it in the most practical way that they can be able to replicate it at home and create something, a new form of income aside from the honey that they were selling. So in the end, we supported 15,600 plus individuals, but this 15,000 converted into 3,650 eco enterprises. And that's what we wanted. We wanted that they didn't stay as individuals, but moved to an enterprise and moved to something we can support and can be sustainable in those particular regions. So these are just some more pictorials on how we were helping them. And we did this in a community-based way. So the project was for women, but we still had men in these trainings because we realized the community is not segregated. They train together. So our trainer is here showing them how to dress up more effectively as opposed to using traditional methods, and how to harvest the wax and the honey. And then we also were working with the ladies in primary production, where they were saying, you know, when I'm keeping bees, I don't have time. I have to wait 4 months before honey is produced. And so they were looking at other alternatives to be earning money in the meantime. And here we have some cooperatives. So this is the Galole Beekeepers Cooperative. And so while they were waiting for their bees to generate honey for them and the beeswax, they were also looking for alternative values. So this is sisal, which is a product from the farm, and they're creating bags and weaving to be able to sell and also get some extra income. This is some of the trainings we've had in Turkana. So our trainings are usually very informal. They're not done with PowerPoint presentations. So we want to ensure that they're done in a way that the participants and the ladies in the communities can be able to understand what we're saying and what's going on. We also have trainings in our incubation center. So this is a center in Marsabit, where we're training the youth SMEs on the production, primary production, how to scale from being an individual into a group of youth, and then further on into how you can create it like into a self-help group. So the second case study that we did, this one ran for only a period of 10 months. But this one was also really, really good in the sense of we were focusing now on livestock. And livestock is one area of agriculture where it is the most volatile. If the rain rains badly, you can have all your chicken dying. If there's a flu, it can kill all your animals. Sometimes the drought and the famine, which is very, very harsh in the arid and semi-arid lands in Kenya, can be very harsh to the animals. And so what we were trying to do with this particular project is strengthen their market systems. We realized that in the arid and semi-arid lands, especially the way they are in Kenya, they are really vast and there is no access to market. And so here we were coming in with the help of KEMLAC, which is an off-taker and an aggregator, to assist them sell the animals. So the picture that you can see here is one of the live market farms that happen in Wajir, and the pastoralists had come together to sell their animals. So you can find that these animals walked a very, very long distance just to be able to come to the market. And then you find once they get to the market, they're not sold, so they have to go back home. And the people were really, really stressed out because they're saying livestock can be stolen. You know, there's no tracker that you can put in your goat or your cow. And then aside from livestock being stolen, it also you're at risk of having too many livestock and they can die due to famine or drought. And so what we were doing is to ensure that KEMLAC now comes and offtakes all the animals all at once. So KEMLAC came for this market, and within one particular market day, they were able to buy about 1,000 goats, which to the community was really, really helpful because they were able to offtake their goods really quickly. And so we were looking at how can we create a sustainable market where if they have goods and they have them in plenty, they can be offtaken very quickly, as opposed to just selling to the local community. Then we also brought a new off-taker. This is DHL. We realized one of the biggest issues that they have is logistics, and DHL is really, really good with logistics. So what is pictured here is primary production of traditionally preserved camel meat. So in essence, they usually just hang them on clotheslines until it's completely dry, and then they fry them. And so here we had a quality control officer from DHL just coming to check their processes and help them see how they can improve their processes to make them more hygienic and also make them reach the international standards of export. After this training, it's good to mention that the ladies who had extra training on hygiene and how to ensure that they move from traditional methods into modern methods to be able to now sell their products in the international market and stop focusing on just the local market. Again, this is a picture of the livestock market that I'd shown you. It has goats and it has sheep. And then now we also focus on poultry. So in poultry, what we realized is a lot of people were using traditional methods in keeping their poultry alive. And so here we were working with a local poultry veterinary office where they create poultry feeds, they create poultry medicine. This is to ensure that their poultry, they don't lose it to just like the normal effects of the weather. And then also they can be able to keep healthy animals where they can actually now reap the benefits of poultry farming. And then finally, this is our attraction out of the last 3 years. So the 10 months for Kuza Jamii happened within the 3 years of Lift. And during that time, we've managed to help a lot of people. Our partners have come in very, very heavily in terms of helping us move from just technical assistance, primary production, to how we can now help them access finance and help them access new markets. We've also gotten a lot of traction with our incubation centers. So our incubation centers is where we were training the different SMEs who were coming from the LIFT program. And you can see our numbers in terms of the SMEs that we created from the different incubation centers. Initially, these numbers add up to 20,000, and these are individuals that now later on added up to the 3,000 that I had mentioned earlier, where they came in together and they formed a bigger group. So some of the groups were a group of either 15 to 18 individuals, and they realized that together they can now start saving. With saving, they can create self-help groups, and there they can be able to access finance in a larger group as opposed to being just by yourself, where it's so hard and stringent to meet the requirements of financing and even of taking some of their products and some of the things that they require. Then finally, I'd like to end my presentation by saying with primary production, especially in livestock keeping, it's very, very crucial to see that majority of the people, the actors, or rather the weakest link in this production system are people who probably didn't go to school, are people who found themselves in this particular area, and they are affected by things that they cannot control, such as climate change and, famine and drought. So it's interesting how us as key players like the ESOs and the financial institutions and NGOs can come in together to ensure that we can create an ecosystem that is cyclic, where the producers can be able to meet the markets, the finances, and be able to offtake their product without having to change too much in the ecosystem. So it has been an amazing one. And then I just wanted to mention, I saw that in the presentation that Rod had shared, Rod mentioned that I'd talk about horses, and I just laughed. We do not work with horses, but hopefully, maybe in a few years' time, we'll look at primary production with horses. Thank you so much for your time. That's it on my presentation.
Thank you, Keisla. My bad. But it was really great to hear your presentation on livestock keeping. I like the kind of juxtaposition of yours and Tenemba's presentation, because then you also show an experience in primary production of, of meat and like livestock keeping and how it's going. And I really like your point on keeping or understanding the context with which these livestock keepers have, which will be helpful in creating the kind of support that they will need and how the ecosystem can kind of be there for them, since again it's the bedrock of how we're getting all of these meats and all of these plants to the table of everyday people. So thanks so much, Keisla, and I wanted to open the floor for any questions for Keisla and her presentation, or any insights as well as welcome. Maybe while we wait, if anybody wants to unmute Keisla, I'm curious in terms of maybe main challenges, maybe top two for, and I might have missed this because again, my internet has been kind of uh, not cooperating today, but what are your maybe top or main challenges when it comes to working and supporting livestock keeping and the entrepreneurs there?
All right. I think I can borrow a little bit from what Tenemba had mentioned. Inside the arid and semi-arid lands, there has been a huge culture of aid. So different organizations that were here in the north for very many years, actually like about 20 years and more. So such as the World Food Program, the United Nations, and the different organizations had been bringing aid to these communities. So the communities had been highly dependent on aid. Now, the ecosystem has been shifting gradually, but I think the biggest shift we saw was this year when there was an order that removed USAID from the really just playing in the system anymore. And that shift in aid changed a lot of perspective. It changed the dependency because initially you'd find a lot of these livestock actors just got, in for lack of a better word, free money to be able to conduct business. And so whether or not they were making profit was not their issue. So a good example is if drought was about to come, you'd find a goat that's supposed to sell for about 10,000 shillings could be sold for 200 shillings because they're thinking, you know what, USAID will cover the backlog. And it's true, they did. So they'll come and say, this is aid money for the drought. And so if I had like 200 goats and they were all about to die, I could just sell them to whoever for the cheapest price and then get some aid. Now that aid has come out of the program, it becomes really, really hard for them to let go of their animals for a low price. But also they're thinking, I need to sell them because I can't have the animals during the drought. So that has been a really huge challenge and it's still a learning process. This year has been a learning curve for us just to see how we can still assist. But now having the off-takers who take the animals all at once has come in and in a profitable way because the off-takers don't sell them, they don't buy the animals in low prices. They buy at almost market rate wholesale prices so they can now go sell them for profit.
Thanks, Keisla. No, that's really interesting how, again, if you think about it at a systems thinking level, right, then the dependency on aid has created this kind of warped understanding of the kind of things that they can earn and the dependency again that you mentioned. So it's interesting how even how the support comes from the ecosystem could readily affect them, especially if things change very quickly, then you know even they could possibly lose a lot from that. So definitely a really big challenge, and I think really great insights to kind of see what could be done to help sort this out. Uh, thank you. Does anybody else have a question for Keisla?
There was actually a question in the chat
Thanks, Kat.
around, no worries, focusing on women and youth. Have you had a challenge with access to land as a resource?
Okay. In terms of livestock, and so in this case, in the arid and semi-arid areas, land is not an issue at all. In fact, land is very vast. The issue I would say with land is if the land is productive. So you would find that maybe I live in a village where we have, I don't know, even 300, 400 acres, but of stone and rock. And so I'd have to walk for quite some time to get my cattle to graze. And so now this would create inter-community conflict. Livestock is valued very, very highly in the north. And so you may come to my land to graze your cattle, and I'd say, you know what, you're not going back with your cattle. You can leave, but your cattle are staying here, and it creates conflict. So the issue isn't the land itself, it's the fact that the land is not productive in terms of creating food for their animals, and they do have vast animals. And so it creates inter-community conflict.
Thank
All
you. And
right.
thanks for highlighting that test. I don't know if I saw that I thought I saw Susan unmute. Is that right? If not, no pressure. Okay. I don't think so. Okay. Um, great. I don't know if Tenemba also lost her internet, but thank you again, Keisla, for sharing your experience. And I'd love to hear from the group also, maybe what are we taking away from today's session? Let me share my screen. If we could uh, kind of close on this, what's an aha moment or key realization you're taking home from today? And maybe to already, because we already did our popcorn thing earlier, we can do that again. And maybe I can start with a key learning for me today is really how um, should really think about it as a system and not just as one key player. Like, yeah, primary production. I think we all agree at this point that it's a very important, and I think again the bedrock of agriculture, in livestock keeping, and also in growing plants, right? That we consume. Um, at the same time, seeing how the other parts of the value chain are, and are they also supporting the primary producer, and what kind of support they're giving, just like what Gisela highlighted with the aid. I think it uh, it's something to really think about as impact enablers, as ESOs, and as incubators, that the support that we give could kind of strengthen and make these primary producers more sustainable and effective in their work, right? And yeah, that's a really great aha moment for me today. Um, Maybe I'll pass it on to Tess, see if she has anything to like share. Yeah.
Yeah, I think having my video on gives the impression that I'm ready.
Yeah.
But I think um I think for me it's actually a really simple realization, which is agribusiness is not only about food and crops, it's also about livestock. And so I think it's been interesting to see the work that SRC is doing, and also how they've been able to um, deliver the capacity building sessions in a way that the participants on the ground are able to receive it. And hence why I saw a lot of big numbers on the slides, but really I think it's translated to the kind of work that they've been doing in those regions. And I think finally it's also around I didn't know the impact of funding, um, especially in this area of like livestock farming. So it's interesting to hear how the funding enabled and also promoted some level of complacency with the farmers. So yeah, that was also an interesting take home from today. Yeah, so I see Thomas has put something in the comments, so maybe Rod, you can read it out.
Thanks, Tess.
Or
Yeah,
yeah.
sure. So Thomas mentioned that, primary producers are often overlooked due to their fragmented nature, and the two presenters have made a way to address them. Yeah, I totally agree. I think Keisla and Tenemba were able to present like different support solutions and ways that as ESOs we can contribute to um, defragmenting the primary producers and helping fortify again the chain, so that they don't become the weakest link in the whole process. So I definitely agree. And thank you, Thomas, for sharing. Um, I'm curious to hear from anyone else who would like to share. Yeah, Susan.
Maybe I can go in. I want
Yeah.
to really appreciate this conversation. It was really, timely for me. We are currently running a project on organic farming, and just hearing that we need to consider the whole value chain really spoke volumes to me. Looking at sometimes the production may be good, however, other logistics becomes a challenge. So I think that is a key takeaway for me. And just seeing how I can be able to connect with other people who are in the space. Also, the aspect of looking at it from that angle of an agribusiness and not agriculture. We are talking about having young people to be enticed in this space. However, if we continue looking at it from that approach of agriculture, where we know it's been looked down upon, then we'll not have our young people get into that space. So it is more about enabling the young people whom I largely work with to see even the many opportunities that are in the value chain, be it logistic, how their strength in technology can be infused in the process, and looking at it, how can they become even much more innovative to support the whole system. So I'm so glad, and I'm looking forward to connect with the team and take the conversation forward. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Susan. I'm so happy to hear that this was insightful, and definitely let us know if you'd like to connect with Keisla and Tenemba. I'd be happy to introduce you to them. Yeah, definitely. I know David is already part of the SRC team, but in case you have any aha moments, David, I just wanted to give you time to share if you want. If not, totally fine. Again, no pressure. All right. Well, if not, thank you so much, everyone. Again, I'd like to thank Tenemba and Keisla. I think Tenemba had to go, but thank you again to both of them for sharing their experience with us today. It was really eye-opening. I think, again, there's not a lot of places where we get to talk about primary production, and I'm glad that we were able to talk about it and then gain some insights as impact enablers all over the world. And hopefully this means that we get more time to spotlight something like primary production so that, again, the whole ecosystem is strengthened. So thank you all for joining us today. I hope you have a great day ahead of you, and we'll see you at our next session. Thank you so much.